Ionic Detox Video 1.
First, I want to thank everyone for coming. We're going to be talking primarily about the Ionic Detox foot bath, and we're going to approach it in 4 parts. There's going to be a general talking explanation regarding the Ionic Detox foot bath itself. Then we're going to talk about the Ionic Detox machine. Then we're going to look at some issues with, does the Ionic Detox foot bath really work? And then what are the benefits? If it does work, what are the benefits? And so, like I say, this will all be in 4 parts. So first of all is that we know that everyone wants to live a healthier life, but none of us want to have unreliable or deceptive information. So my goal for these trainings is to help you get information that will give you the benefit of understanding what's going on when we're discussing or when you're thinking about the Ionic Detox foot bath and the machine. And so I think we can do that. There's quite a bit to be pointed out with regards to modern Western medical science. However, it is most certainly not the be-all and end-all of restorative and beneficial health therapy. I think we could all agree with that. We also know that there's damaging toxins and contaminants, chemical substances and pollution. There's radiation, heavy metals, synthetics, unbalanced diets, which I tend to do myself, tobacco, alcohol, and there's just a host of other enemies that try to invade and to destroy our bodies. And they're all around us. And no matter how careful we try to be, they're going to be there. So it's really just the consequences of living in today's modern world. There's really nothing we can do about it. You can, even if you live out in some of the rural areas, you've got fertilizer contamination that's come in, some of the stuff that they've done with GMO products, things like that. But I think that the thing we want to end up understanding is that right now there exists the technology that we can each personally have to help us to deal with these things easily and safely and effectively. The Ionic Detox is just one aspect of that. We know there's water filters and there's grounding. If you've gotten into the whole thing of earthing and grounding, that's another aspect of it. But just imagine that using a machine would be as rejuvenating and enjoyable as just taking a stroll along the beach. Yet it provides the body with all the energy and the vitality necessary to help it to eradicate and to eliminate the destructive contamination and harmful toxins like the one I just mentioned. You see, you and I may be unable to steer clear of the barrage of pollutants in our everyday living, but we can find ways to help us in our battle for health and for wholeness. So we're going to take some time and go over these things, and hopefully at the end of the 4 sessions you'll be more in tune with what's available. Okay, part 1 is going to be the Ionic Detox foot bath itself, and get my notes up here. So the first thing is just trying to make sense out of all the misunderstandings that's out there surrounding an Ionic Detox foot bath itself. To lay the groundwork, first, we live in a society that is vastly opinionated with regards to many areas of our life. And there's a lot of divisions in that. In other words, when you have multiple opinions, you're going to end up having some that would take one route and some that would take another. So I first want to deal with the mindsets that you might have, that I've had when we're discussing these issues. First, I have to freely admit that there's a lot of misinformation out there regarding the value, the methods, and the results that a person may experience using ionic detoxification. If you go to YouTube, as an example, you're going to find there's a a whole lot of videos. Some are pro, meaning they're for it. Some are anti, meaning they're against it. They call it a scam. Some people say it's been the greatest thing they've ever done. But at any rate, there's an awful lot of misinformation, or excuse me, conflicting information and opinions on YouTube. Then you go out to the websites and you can find snippets of information that's going to be there. Much of it is conflicting. As an example, and this is a simple example, but still, some sites say that on the bottom of your feet there are 2,000 pores. And then there's others that say there's 4,000 pores. So there's discrepancies even about something as simple as how many pores do you have on the sole of your foot. Then there are discrepancies about how the toxins in the body get out. Some say that the toxins are drawn out of the pores of your feet, regardless of whether there's 2,000 or 4,000. They say it comes out of the pores. But then others say that the body itself eliminates the toxins using the normal detoxing abilities that our bodily organs have. I think that the thing we have to come to grips with is that the body uses all of the available resources that it has, whether it's the soles of the feet or the organs of the body. And we'll talk about which one really wins out in those two arenas as we go through this. But the thing that you and I have to keep in mind is that an ionic machine simply enhances the ability of the body to detoxify itself using whatever abilities it has. So as you look around the net and you read books or articles and you find a lot of stuff that's going to say one thing or the other, you also will find that there's a lot of techno talk that's out there. Here's a following actual statement that's on a website that I was researching a while back, and here's what he said. Quote, "The reaction is 4H2O plus 4E. And then it goes on to talk about 2H2 plus 4OH, where 4E stands for the electrons that are gained in the reduction process. In the overall decomposition reaction, the volume of H2 produced is twice the volume," and then it goes on. Well, I'm not saying that there's not a place for those kind of statements, but I am saying that for the person like you guys that and myself that are just looking for ways to simply make a decision about my health, most likely very detailed explanations like that, even if they're true, and I'm not saying it's true or false, but we're probably not going to be helped a lot in our desire to understand the process in a meaningful way. So let's talk about some facts about using the ionic detox foot bath and try to make them understandable. For those of us desiring to make an informed decision with regards to our health, we simply need to have some facts, but also facts that are understandable. I've spent a lot of hours sifting through the information on the internet. I think in all the time that I've studied this, I've gone through about 137 different websites. And so the hopes that I have for our sessions together is to try to boil that down and make it understandable and useful. Basically so you can make a sound decision about whatever you decide to do. So simply stated, an ionic detox foot bath machine therapy will assist and strengthen the natural abilities of our body to eliminate unhealthy toxins, pollutants, and other harmful and damaging substances that it has to deal with. Remember, we talked a little bit earlier about the fact of the environment that we live in. So you can think about an ionic detox foot bath sort of like this. Just imagine that your body is a host to gathering a lot of people. Some of those people have been invited and some have not. Some have just showed up. When it's time to go home, some of those uninvited guests decide to stick around. It's getting late, and you clearly want to send those people along their way. Get rid of them. Well, the body's kind of like that. It wants the invaders that have entered us, the things that are toxic, things that are damaging. It wants to get rid of it. And so the machine helps the body to rid itself of these uninvited contaminants and waste byproducts. The thing that's really kind of cool about it is that it's very soothing and it's very gentle to the body. And the treatments that you take, you can do them as frequently as every other day. We wouldn't suggest doing it every day, but we do think that, or we know that you can do a session or a treatment every other day and be completely at ease with that. So a little bit of what the machine is doing from a technical and electrical perspective. When we talk about that, we're really talking about the process of electrolysis in detoxification. So we have to understand when we're talking about this that what's going on with using a machine and having your feet in water, and the machine has some parts that are literally in the water. What's going on is a process called electrolysis. The machine uses wires to create an electrical path from the negative side of the machine to the positive side. So the way it works is the machine generates energy to these terminals, and the energy then flows from the negative out through the wire, through a device called an array, which is really coiled wires in there that are separated by space, and it allows water to get in there. Then it comes back on the positive side of the wire to the terminal. So it's like turning on a light. If you turn on a light, the electricity goes up to the bulb, through the bulb, and back. Same kind of thing. And what happens is that as this energy is going through the array that's sitting in the water, there are things which we call negative ions that are produced in the water. Now, these ions are very similar to the mist and things that are around the ocean. So when you walk along the beach, you are absorbing through the smell and through your oxygen, different things, these ions. Well, what happens is that these negative ions begin to be produced in the water, and our body begins to absorb or soak them up through the skin. This process of absorbing or soaking them up, it's called osmosis, and it's simply the movement of particles or ions through our skin. The process causes a high number of negatively charged ions in the millions to enter our body. Given that all the harmful products or particles within the body are positively charged, then what we have is an attraction. The negative ions that were absorbed will seek out positively charged molecules to connect with. It's just basic understanding of electronics and electricity. Now, once they connect with any toxic substances within the body, the inherent process within the body will seek to quickly get rid of them naturally by means of its own resources. In other words, the bodily organs that we have. Which is one of the things that you should really, as we said earlier, or as I said earlier, you really only want to use an ionic detox machine maybe 2 or 3 times a week. Once the negative ions connect with any toxic substances in the body, the body's going to seek to get rid of it. One of the things that you also have to think about is that in addition to using this to start with as a treatment, you also want to do it long term. It's sort of like drinking good clean water. If you drink clean water, the body's not going to get rid of waste just by one drink of water or 1 gallon of water. You have to drink water consistently, and over time it's going to help the body eliminate the waste and such. It's the same thing with the ionic detox machine. You want to be consistent with it, and you want to do it over time, but not try to take, like drinking too much water at one time. You don't want to just sit there for hours and days. You want to use it a little while, Take some time off. Let the body detox. Come back, take another session. That's why we suggest every 2 to 3 days.
Ionic Detox Video 1.